Hello, good day, and welcome back to Coding with Viral. In this video, I'm going to introduce you to Agent Zero. And Agent Zero is an open source project that is free for you to use that is supposed to help you do almost anything. Now, there's some limitation, and I'll get into that later. Instead of spending a lot of time like I usually do trying to tell you what the thing is before, I'll actually try to show you how you can use it or give you some example of how I've used it in real world situation. And then at the end, I'll then try to tell you a little bit more about how you install it and then where you can go find it and, learn more about it. There's so much to Agent Zero. It's honestly too much for me to be able to put into one video. I'll have to do several videos. And honestly, Agent Zero comes with some really good documentation. There's a YouTube channel and they have a lot of videos that would actually help you understand how to use it. So I just want to introduce it so you're aware of it. With that said, without further ado, let's jump in. Let me start with the first example. So I have a real problem. I can't get this GPU that I bought to work on my computer. When I put it in the system doesn't start up, meaning it doesn't get to the post or power on self-test. After chatting with my friend about this, he said I need to configure VRAM size or something called resize bar. So I want Agent Zero to help me. So once in Agent Zero, I mentioned my problem and what I know about it. Then I asked Agent Zero for help. Notice I didn't tell Agent Zero where to go look for information about my problem. It went online, searched Reddit and GitHub and a bunch of other places, sources, then extracted and prepare a meaningful result. As you can see, and if you look at the output, I know it probably went by a little fast, so you might have to slow it down. You can see when Agent Zero was thinking, then it was generating, and then it summarized the result. And here it is. It told me how to go into my BIOS to make this change. My second example is a continuation of my previous problem. Now that I know what I need to configure for my GPU to work, I want specific information for the computers I have. I have 3 computers, each using a different motherboard. Fortunately, I have the motherboard manuals. While I didn't find what I was looking for in the manual, I will let Agent Zero use this information, the motherboard manual and their specific type, to go online to get the details if it can find it. If the information was in the motherboard and I hadn't looked in it, Agent Zero would have used that too and maybe not even go online. The manual gives it the specific motherboard information I need, the specific motherboard I needed information for. Notice again how Agent Zero went online, found the information, and provided them one after the other. When it finished with the first, it waited for me to prompt it to continue. And then at the end, it told me that it had provided all the information. When it was waiting, I told it, hey, you haven't finished yet, and it continued to the next. And then when it finished the second one, I told it, continue to the next. So once again, this is a real task I had for Agent Zero, and it helped me by simplifying all the searching I would have to do and putting the information together. In this next example, I want Agent Zero to develop an application for me. In the interest of time, I won't read the prompt. You can pause the video. Don't forget you can slow down or speed up. It will be our standard to-do list application. However, I want you to pay attention to something that Agent Zero can do that Roo Code just can't do yet. At one point, Agent Zero was waiting for me to confirm an action. You can see that there was a shell icon which is running commands. There's a different icon depending on what it's doing, like thinking, searching, the web, etc., or generating. So you know exactly what Agent Zero is doing. You can also expand all of the boxes to see details. In my prompt, I asked Agent Zero to test the application to ensure that it works correctly. When I use Roo Code, I can have it launch the application and even monitor the standard out or standard error, but I cannot get screenshots of my computer to see if the application renders correctly, much less click on the UI. Basically, Roo Code doesn't have control of your computer. However, with Agent Zero can do this test because it has a browser which it can use to load the app, then use Playwright to test the UI. You will see that Agent Zero will start a browser and show the UI and identify the elements so it knows what is on the screen. It will also test the backend using curl commands. Note, even though Agent Zero said the application is running on port 30,001 for the backend and 30,000 for the front end, I can't access those ports on my computer since they are ports that were created in the container and weren't exported by the container and mapped before the container started, which means it's best to just get the generated file and run the app locally. Then you can still use Agent Zero to fix issues and continue to add features since it's accessed from within the containers as you have access from your Docker host machine. I'll show you how to map the Agent Zero internal storage to your local machine, which if you follow my Docker video series, you'd know how to do this already. So I've shown you several examples of how you can use Agent Zero. Let's switch gears now to how to get it running. And Agent Zero, thankfully, is Dockerized, so it's fairly easy to get up and running. So here is a Docker Compose file that will run Agent Zero. And then you can see the port that I export. So I map port 9022 on my machine, the host that's running Docker, to port 2022 inside the Docker container. Then I map port 9080 on my computer to port 80 within the Docker container. And so port 80 is the only one you really need because that's going to give you the web UI that you're going to use to interact with Agent Zero. The SSH port 2022, if you don't know about SSH, don't even use that port, ignore it. If you decide to map the port 2022 SSH port, there's a way you can SSH into that Docker container. And I'll show you the password you'd have to set so that you can use it. Otherwise, Agent Zero uses a random password, and so you won't be able to know what it is on startup. You'd have to look for it. And then the last and most important thing is the directory that I map. So again, on my local computer, I map the .data directory in the current directory where I have this Docker Compose file to /A0 in the Docker container. So it means anything that Agent Zero creates or constructs in the Docker container is going to be mapped back onto my local file system. What I'll show you next is how to run Agent Zero from Docker Desktop. So if you open the Docker Desktop GUI application and go to Images, search for Agent, and you should see this agent, FRDEL Agent Zero run. And then you want to go to the Actions menu and select Pull. Now, I already have it, so pull really fast. Then you can click on the play button to run it, but you want to make sure you open this drop down and configure it. For the ports, I'm using 0 here in the GUI, but you can type in whatever ports you know are available. Just use 0 for the system to provide you available ports. Notice I'm going to map this temp directory /agent 0 to the container A0 directory, and then once I click Start, you can see the directory was created and filled in, and you can see Agent Zero is coming up. Wait until Agent Zero fully loads, then click on the link that open up your web browser to that port that was allocated. Now we have to do some configuration. So if you click on Settings and then you go to Chat Model, and you can choose for these different chat models. Now, if you read this, I'm not going to read it for you, tell you the different chat models and what they're used for. Plus, like I said, the Agent Zero documentation is really, really good, or you could just simply watch the installation video. If you're using Olama, right, remember, we have to set the context length. So you can use the parameter to the model to set like num_ctx to something like 30,000. Don't use less than that because Agent Zero most likely will not run. Now, if you're not using Olama, well then of course choose the model provider, and of course you can use different models for the different 3 models here that you need to select: the chat model, utility model, and browser model. Once you do that, now is on to setting the keys for your different model or API providers. Okay, within the settings menu, there's another tab next to agent setting, and that's for external services. You can also see in this tab, there are 3 subsections. The first one is for API keys. That's pretty straightforward. Just put in the API keys for the services that you use or the model providers that you use. The second one is authentication. Notice that there's UI and UI login and UI password. You set those, and then Agent Zero will just use that if you try to access the UI. The third entry within authentication is the root password. This is the password I refer to that you would need to set if you want to do SSH into your Agent Zero container. The last section is Flare Tunnel. Now, a nice feature of Agent Zero is it would automatically set up this tunnel that connects back to your Agent Zero computer. If you're going to enable Flare Tunnel, we're not going to do it here. Make sure you set a UI password because you don't want somebody else to accidentally stumble on your tunnel and use it and have access to Agent Zero and run all kind of queries or anything. Even though Agent Zero is just mapped to a local directory, well, you never know. So definitely set that. So definitely do not enable Flare Tunnel without also enabling user UI login and password. All right, so that's it for the configuration of external services. So the last thing we're going to configure within setting menu is our MPC servers. Now, what is MCP server? MCP means Model Context Protocol, and they're servers that implements MCP and therefore provide your agent with tools. So I'm going to copy a few MPC servers I have configured in my other Agent Zero, and I'm just going to paste them here. So I'm not going to spend time explaining it. You can look up MCP servers online. You can find a ton of them for different things that provide tools for talking to Git and searching. The key one I have here is for searching for flights. And you can see once I configure it and save it, it says that, oh, my servers provide these different tools. You can see one that provide only one tool, the other two provide two tools. All right. So with that said now, I can then just go back to my Agent Zero interface and type, like, let's say a query to say, look for flights between so-and-so date, leaving from so-and-so place, going to so-and-so place. And my agent is going to be smart enough to say, oh, I have these set of MCP servers. One of them have a tool for searching or tools related to searching, and it will execute that. And that's it for the configuration of Agent Zero. Now you can do a lot more, like I said, within Agent Zero. You can set it up so it can run tasks periodically for you. Like, let's say you want to not only do that search one time for tickets, but you want to do it every day at 3 o'clock. You can set up tasks. We didn't even talk about tasks. You can set up Agent Zero so it can read back to you what it's doing, or you can talk to it. And so many things. I really think that the best place to learn about Agent Zero is by going to their page. The documentation is really good, and they have a ton of YouTube videos. So I couldn't do a better job. And so you can get to the documentation page by going to agents-zero.ai. So before I end this video, let's go back and look at the example. Remember, I asked Agent Zero to create this to-do application for me. What if you want to know how to run it? Remember, we had a front end and a back end. So I'm going to ask Agent Zero how to run the application, and it's going to give me instruction what exactly I need to install to get it run and so on. Remember, it did it and it run it inside a Docker container, but I couldn't access it. So you can see here, it gave me that instruction. Now, how do I get to the files to run it? Now, if we go to our data directory, if you remember, we map a local directory on our computer to a /A0 directory within the container. And if you look in that data directory, you don't see your application. You see all the other stuff that Agent Zero created, but not the application. And that's because I noticed as Agent Zero created this application within the root directory. So I'm going to ask it to move the application from the root user within the container to the /A0 directory. And now if we check again in the data directory, there it is. You see the to-do-backend and the to-do-frontend. Now I can go into those respective directories and run the commands Agent Zero told me that I would need to run to get this to work on my computer. Remember, it's the same code. The only difference now is that it can run on my computer, where whatever port is opened up, I can access it with my web browser instead of having to worry that, oh, the ports are already locked away in this container. I didn't map it before I started the container and all that jazz. All right. So with that said, I think this is all. Thanks for your time. Thanks for coming back. Thanks for your patience. If you are a returning subscriber, thank you so much, which I appreciate it. I very much appreciate it. If you're first time here or you're not a subscriber, please consider subscribing. You watch the video. What do you think? If you like what I'm doing, please consider subscribing. I would love to have you. Until next time, take care. See you in the next video. Stay safe. Bye.